Hello, my name is Thomas Rosegaard. I'm sorry I can't be at the EuroMar this year, but I will give you a short presentation of EasyNMR and how we use EasyNMR in the context of PANACEA. So our ambition is really to simplify the NMR workflow as a whole. So we start out with the spectrometer data, we upload that to a cloud storage, and then we submit that to the end users. This is the basic workflow of PANACEA when we provide transnational access. The cloud server is based on Nextcloud, so it's a normal computer program you can download and install on your computer, so you have a network drive at your computer, so it makes it very easy to access the data. You can also access the data directly through EasyNMR, or you can download it such as you can use any other NMR software. Now, the overall workflow is that the spectrometer owns the data, it pushes the data to the server, it's tagged with the spectrometer name. And then at the server, the operator shares the data with users through their ORCID. And this means that the users, the end users, or the clients of PANACEA can access the data and organize it into projects. So that's the basic workflow. Let's see how you actually handle an example. So when you record a data set, a read-all, for example, and you want to analyze that, the first thing you do is you download the data, you visualize the data, you select a trace or a region for integration such that you can calculate S over S0 for that specific peak. You visualize it to make sure that everything is okay, and then you fit it to a read-all model and you plot the result. So that's a typical workflow. You may not have thought about it as such, but in EasyNMR, you actually define these workflows. So we start out having the data, it's stored in the core scientific data model, hence the CSDM here. You forward the data into a trace object where you do the integration and calculate S over S0. You submit that to a data model and you plot the data. So that's basically how you do it in EasyNMR. So we work on these graphical workflows. So EasyNMR is a web-based application, and you see on the left side you have the graphical workflow. On the right side you have the actual content of each of the objects. So each object has a content. So for example, the plot object that displays the plot here, you can see down at the bottom the tests.zip. It's a zip file that contains various information. Now let's go back to the read-all experiment and see how we can use PANACEA and EasyNMR together.
Yeah. So I start clicking on the PANACEA object, and I can see my different projects. I can identify files and download them. And once it's downloaded, you can see that it displays automatically. So I can see the spectrum here. I'll clear this workflow, and then I'll try to download a spectrum. I have it here on my computer. I'll drag it over, and you see that there are different information hidden in this folder. I'll extract the 2D spectrum here, and you see that this is a read-all spectrum. It automatically, EasyNMR automatically separates the interleaved data. So instead of plotting S, I can choose to plot S0, and you see that it doesn't have the same oscillations. So next thing to do is to select a trace. And to do this, I have to add the trace object. I'll do that and reorganize the things a bit such that I have space. I'll connect the trace object to the data set, and then in the trace object I'll select the vertical integral ratio, and now I have to type in a region, and I'll say from 39.6 ppm to 40 ppm and extract that. Now let me just visualize what I just did, and I can automatically connect a plot object and plot the vertical integral here. And you see that it goes from 1 and then it has oscillations as you would expect. Now I want to model this. So I attach a model object, or I load a model object and I attach that to the trace. And if I double click that, it's a relatively busy window. I have some standard information here. I want to change a couple of parameters, only optimizing until 6 milliseconds. And then I'll add a line, and I'll add a reader line here. And it has some default values. I'll try to do a calculation and verify the result. So here I have the experimental data. I just want to plot that as markers, and then the calculated spectrum. And I see that this is not a very good fit. But then I can just go over here and press fit and visualize the data again. And here you see that we got a very good fit, at least for the first 7 milliseconds. So that's basically it.
Now that was one example. Unfortunately, I don't have time to demonstrate how we can use EasyNMR to make, for example, multi-spectrum fits like shown here, or we can use it to implement different advanced NMR models, or we can use it to do Simpson and other types of simulations that connect to servers. I don't have time to display how, or to demonstrate how we can use it to load PDB files in order to extract spin system information, or you can work with CIF files, or you can do advanced spin system information.
Sharing data becomes increasingly important. This is the whole cornerstone of PANACEA. All of the workflows that you create in EasyNMR are easily downloaded as EasyNMR files that you can share with your colleagues. Obviously, if it contains 2D or even 3D datasets, it may become very large. You can then store it on the cloud, in the cloud, and then only share the metadata with your colleagues, so you can attach it as emails, or you can generate links that you can share with your colleagues. So data sharing is essential, and for that, appropriate metadata is also essential, and we're working on that. We need software to bridge, user-friendly and general-purpose software. We need smart ways to sustain community software, which I didn't have time to talk about. And then I briefly mentioned that we are working on new ways to handle molecules and generate nuclear spin interaction parameters from the PDB and CIF files, for example. I'd like to acknowledge all the people that are involved in the development of PANACEA and EasyNMR. I would also like to acknowledge the people at the NMR box for providing computational resources to host the servers of EasyNMR. And then I would say that EasyNMR is still work in progress, so we need volunteers to help out testing. At this point, I would be happy to answer any questions, but as I'm not here at the EuroMAR, please send me an email, also if you want to volunteer for testing. Thanks for your attention and enjoy the conference.